Glass heart shatter in the middle of the night. Tiptoe screams, but she turned off the light. Masked man walking in the floorboards creak. Saw death's shadow, but she chose not to speak. Phone on silent, eyes wide shut. Truth on lockdown, mouth sewn shut. Four souls gone while the moon stood still. But she's a survivor, yeah, that's a tale they sell. He saw the ghost in black. He even walked right past. But you froze and faded out while the world let out. Worry silence in the hallway, heartbeat on the floor. You saw all the monsters that did not want. Truth tastes bitter when the lies get thick. Pretty little witness, but the story don't stick. Dance with danger while the innocent die. Now the whole world's asking you why.
Welcome to True Crime Unleashed. How are you guys doing tonight? What I want to talk about is the Dylan interview. She was all over the place in this interview. She did verify that Ethan and Xana were snorting Adderall. And then she laid it in that Kaylee also did Adderall, but not all the time. It was a weird freaking interview. And then if it wasn't one lie after another lie after another lie, she said that she was at the memorial service for all four of the victims, which was a lie. She was not there. Somebody read a statement by her and Bethany, even though she turns around and says in this police interview that she was at the memorial service and she had never met the victims' family members. Yeah, it was all a lie.
Thanks very much.
Not really. I didn't even know them until I went to the memorial that was for all four of them. She didn't really I never knew their names. Still don't know their names. Never really talked about them. Really, she just said that remember the one thing she said was yeah, our parents would pay for everything, and she did everything by herself. So that's why me and I was oh, she's the motherly one and the very got her whole life together, because she had an insane job that she was able to ride a Range Rover.
She had an insane job where she could buy a Range Rover. See, and she's also lying because she talked to Steve Gonzalez about what she knew, because Steve had asked her, "What is up with this girl?" And through this entire police interview, it felt like the police was leading her. Completely through the interview, it felt like that they were leading her.
And Kaylee's the only one you responded to.
Yeah.
And that was the Winco incident. And then Murphy as well, and she thought she saw a shadow of someone.
Yeah.
Where would that have been, that shadow? Where would she have seen that at?
I think from what I remember is when she took Murphy out, so if your back's at the sliding door and you look to your left, there's those bushes over there.
Yeah, with a little
that
bit of
always
retaining
freaked me
wall.
out. Yeah, and there's a neighborhood behind there. I think that's what she was talking about, but I don't. Maybe it was in front of her. But when I thought about when I envisioned it myself, I was thinking that backside, because that always freaked me out. That's why I got.
Isn't that where your window backs
Yeah,
up
that's
to?
what freaks me out a lot. Is
Okay.
someone could just walk out from the neighborhood and go right to my window. That's why that window was almost always locked, because it really freaked me out.
Okay.
If you look at her room from the side of the house, there's that street that goes by, and it goes up at an angle going to the Queen Road Apartments. So how could somebody look into her room or get into her room if it's going up at an angle. That's just one of many lies she told in this interview. And yeah, she would have got torn up on the witness stand. She really would have. And she even mentions about locking that sliding glass door, and then admits that the door was broke and never locked. Yeah, I locked the door, which I thought locked. Apparently, it never did. So, why in most of these interviews she keeps changing her story? Like this was like I believe the fifth interview that she did with the MPD, and she changed her story in like numerous times during this interview. And she mentioned Jack coming over, and this was after Kaylee had broken up with him, and Kaylee had stated that it was mutual, that they both wanted it, even though there was that rumor that Kaylee was dating around, and Jack was, I think he was in a relationship by the end of this. And there was no hard feelings. He still came over, hung out, and she keeps saying through most of this interview. Kaylee had just been kind of talking to me. I don't know if they got back together ever, like officially made it something, but I knew she would stay over at his place. Now, I'm not sure she's talking about Jack D on this. Because, there was a rumor Jack was dating somebody else, maybe about a few weeks after Kaylee had broken up with him, and Kaylee said it was mutual. But Dylan went on to say, we would pick her up every now and then, and they ended up talking, but I don't know how serious it was, okay? Didn't ever come over and just hang out with Kaylee or hang out. So this is clearly another person that she's talking about. She's not talking about Jack D. Yeah, because the statement right here, didn't ever come over and just hang out with Kaylee or hang out. So that's clearly talking about somebody else Kaylee was either dating to or talking to, and she has stayed the night over at this person's house because they picked her up from this person's house. Now, if Kaylee had a Range Rover, why would she be needing picked up from this person's house? That's my question. If you have a vehicle, why would you need to be picked up from this person's house? Because if it was Jack D, he has a vehicle, he could have dropped her off back at the house. Instead, they had to go pick her up. So clearly it wasn't Jack D that she was staying the night with. And they talk about the parties, and they talk about the noise complaints and disturbance calls. And this is what kind of made me kind of do a double take. When the officer asked, asked about the disturbance calls and people running out the back door. of that house on numerous occasions. So on and so forth. So, who was running out the back of the house that the cops saw? And then Dylan went on to say, they're like, well, yeah, but we weren't arrested. And I'm like, yeah, good point. Obviously, we had the cops come to our house. So, who are these people running out the back door of the house? Is it the same people that we saw around 3:12 in the morning running away from the house, being caught, a very glimpse of body cam being caught running towards Sigma Chi? That's a good thought. Who were these people running out the back of the house? And where were they running to? And the cops asked her, include drug use, drug transactions, excessive use of alcohol, use of prescription medications not prescribed. And this is Dylan. To them, drinking, driving, etc. And we have some Adderall use. This is actually the cop talking. That they have, they know about the Adderall use there in the house, and they know about the drug use and the drug transactions going on at the house, even though we were told that there was no drug use going on, there was no drug transactions going on. But I seem to think it kind of funny that as far as the toxicology report goes, Kathy Mabbutt stated it was a non-factor, that the toxicology was a non-factor. Well, if there's Adderall use going on in the house by Xana, Ethan, and possibly Kaylee, shouldn't that make the toxicology report a factor? Because the way it sounds to me is these people are trying to cover up the fact that the victims were into drugs by saying that they weren't into drugs, and by saying that there was no drug connection, this and that. And even Dylan says here, we're aware of, Xana. That was Xana and Ethan. They would do it sometimes. Talk about Adderall. Xana would, and be like, oh, it helps me stay awake longer for drinking. Do you know if, this is the cop talking. Do you know if it was prescribed? And Dylan goes, I don't know for sure, because I know they don't always say that that she feels like she has ADHD. So I don't know for sure if she was prescribed it. I am aware of that or not. And then I know Kaylee talked about it once or twice. But then Maddie was like, hell no. Never, for what I know, and I don't think Kaylee used it that often. So she's basically stating that Kaylee used Adderall, but not that often. Or she could have been talking about something else, like Katie's report that Kaylee used cocaine. So, which did Kaylee use? Did she use cocaine? Did she use Adderall? Dylan's basically telling us what we were told in the beginning, but everyone was like, oh no, it's not true. They never did drugs. They never did this. They never did that. But we know that they drank a lot. we know that they partied a lot because yes, they were college students, and they were all college students party a lot, especially in the Greek life. But now we got this roommate coming out and basically backing up everything that we've been saying from day one about the drug connection to the house. She's stating that Xana and Ethan were doing Adderall. Kaylee might have done Adderall, but not all that much. Or was Kaylee doing something else? Because Katie said that she knew Kaylee was doing coke. So exactly what is going on in this case? There's a clear drug connection to the home. We've had Katie talk about it. We've had, and now we're having now we're having Dylan talk about it. Brian had no connection to the home. There was no connection to the victims. There was no motive. So exactly what in the world are they trying to hide? Because we've heard from day one, including Kathy Mabbitt and Bill Thompson. There was no drug use in the home. There was no this in the home. The toxicology report don't matter according to Kathy Mabbitt. But clearly, guys, it does matter. The toxicology report does matter because you now, after all this is over with, you have Dylan stating that there was drug use in the home. You had Katie stating that there was drug use in the home. And we've heard that there was like $100,000 in pills flushed. So if there is no drug connection like the state wants us to believe, then why is the drug connection starting to come out? Like, seriously, why is the drug connection starting to come out after we've been told there was no connection? Now we're finding out there was. And we're finding it out from the people involved in this monstrosity of a case. We're finding out from Katie, and most importantly, the woman that saw the bushy eyebrows. She is corroborating the drug connection too. So where do they go from there? What other narrative are they wanting to push? When the own players in this case are starting to come out with the true connections. A drug connection. Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. Two of them were into Adderall. Xana and Ethan. One of Kaylee, just like Dylan stated, did it not all the time, but some of the time. Maddie was, of course, she was a hell no. Yeah, and she said Kaylee had talked about it once or twice. So, are we gonna finally get these narratives brought to the light? Because we've got players in this case that are bringing everything to light. And yeah, you have Brian, who was sent away for the rest of his life, and now you have drug connections coming out after the sentencing hearing, which tells me that he was framed. Why is all this stuff about the drug connection and everything else coming out after he was sentenced on a plea deal and sent away for the rest of his life? Makes you think. If he wasn't the patsy the whole time, and now that he's out of the picture in prison, now the truth is starting to come out in this case, where the truth had never been brought to the light while Brian Kohberger was going through his court stuff. Now that it's all over with, now the truth is coming out to the light. Maybe he just needs a new trial to where he can actually prove his innocence and get off this crap. Everyone have a good Saturday. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on my channel, and click that bell notification for any and all new uploads. I hope everyone has a good weekend. This is True Crime Unleashed. I'm out, guys. Peace.
Back where the lights don't lie, the wolves are watching in Moscow, Idaho.
Yeah, they said it's open and shut, case on ice, but the facts keep shifting under courtroom lights. Evidence tagged, locked in a sheet, but the truth cuts deeper. It's a double-edged sword.